Anytime. Hello. Welcome. Nice to see everyone here. So, as Jim mentioned, the theme of this workshop is alignment and letting go. And Jim just gave a really nice intro and talked about what we're working in Tai Chi. We're working many, many different things, but what he was referring to was structural alignment. And as he referred to, we're all coming in, unless we're 20, or sometimes not, we're all coming in with a baseline of malalignment in our body because of surgery, past illness, past injury. So Tai Chi really, really works our structural alignment. And what I mean by structural is the bones and the muscles, our bony structure and the muscles. We're gonna work on that throughout the weekend. What I want to focus on, which is linked to that, is internal. What does this exterior structural alignment do for our internal alignment? Because that's where all the magic happens and all our systemic healing can happen. Okay, so there's three things I want to talk about today. Fascia, primarily fascia, circulation, and hopefully, if there's time, a little bit of the neuroendocrine or the neurological and mindful aspects of Tai Chi. So there will be a blog coming with much more detail. So, not to worry if some of it, you don't understand or what have you, but let me know if you have any questions. We'll certainly have time for questions at the end, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Okay, when I do give a talk or write a blog, I do my best to look at the science and how it blends and supports and validates the practice of Tai Chi. And I try to look for the most recent science. So I was very, very excited with what I found about internal balance related to Tai Chi. And just to let you know, there was 5 months ago, a systemic review, they call it a meta-analysis, that was published May 2025, with a review of the past 20 years, any studies that had to do with Tai Chi and healing. And there were over 200 that they found, which is actually not a lot over 20 years, but Tai Chi is very special in terms of a practice. And they found 69 of those met the validity for proper research and evidence-based practice. So there's emerging evidence, it's just to say, there's emerging evidence for the art of Tai Chi and what it can do for the system internally. So that's quite exciting. So what they were looking at is cellular repair, healing, and how Tai Chi can mitigate age-related decline, which I don't know about you, but that is such a nice thing to be able to practice and to know about. So the first thing is fascia. Now, I'll just let you know now that I have some images. I'll just kind of flash them as I speak, but I'm going to leave them on the table, so you're welcome to have a look, and they're specific to the topics. The first area I want to talk about is fascia. People know what fascia is? I can give a little bit of a review. It's a huge topic, so this is a high-level overview. We have fascia, we have deep, superficial fascia and deep fascia beneath the skin. Our fascia is a mechanical system of connective tissue that supports, but also unifies our bones, our muscles, our organs, our nerves, our blood vessels. It's not just a little thing, it's a casing, and that's actually, you'll see, this is a magnified image of fascia. It's a matrix. If you can kind of think of a spider web, it's all through the body, okay? Very strong, very strong. So what does Tai Chi have to do with fascia? The fascia is being, pardon me? No, this is through the microscope, electron microscope. Oh. Yeah, it's a tissue sample. And it'll be here if you want to have a closer look. Fascia is made up of cells called fibroblasts. Okay? And fibroblasts, when they're activated, do two really important things for us. Okay? The first is they release collagen to repair tissue. And the second is they release immune cells when we have inflammation. And we all know that when we have an injury, an illness, and as we age, I mean, how many collagen products do you see on the shelves in the pharmacies? And anti-inflammatories, right? So those are two huge mechanisms of the fascia. And Tai Chi has the perfect method of activating the fascia. So there's something called mechanotransduction. Fascia, it's a fancy word, fascial mechanotransduction. Fascia, a little bit like saran wrap, okay? It senses and it responds to loading, okay? So it's there, and you know when you have a piece of saran wrap and you're pushing it and it's strong, but it will respond to the loading. Same thing with Tai Chi, with the fascia in Tai Chi. So when you load, the fascia will respond. So what does this have to do with alignment and relaxation? Fascia will respond if we are aligned and relaxed, right? If we are well aligned, if we have a really good external structure, we're making space, we're opening the tissues and where the organs are, and the fascia can open up. And why is that important? Because that's the only time fibroblasts are spewing out the collagen that we need and the immune cells that we need to up-regulate our system. So do you see the connection? If we have really good alignment and we are soft inside, our fascia can then say, oh, I have a great microenvironment here. Time for me, oh, there's a little bit of tension there. I'm going to release some collagen in that area. Oh, this person where's Sherry, is having a back issue today. Let's, up-regulate the immune cells in that area. So it's pretty exciting that they can actually see this now in vivo, in tissues, and they can see how the fascia responds to sustained movement. So the external alignment that we're trying to achieve in Tai Chi allows for an internal realignment of your fascia. And by having an internal realignment of your fascia, we have an even loading. So if we're doing a Danyu and we're doing it like this, we have an uneven loading of your fascia. Your fascia is not going to respond to that. Well, true and not true. Fascia also has a terrific proprioceptive network. There's actually more proprioceptive nerves in the fascia than in muscles. So your fascia will hopefully, if you listen to your body, your fascia is talking to you and it's saying, oh, you're way too much on that side. Get yourself over. Or this is sore. Why is it sore? Oh, so the proprioceptive quality of fascia helps us to realign the structure of our Tai Chi. Does that make sense? Making sense? Okay. So the loading is balanced. This is the internal balance I wanted to talk about. So the external alignment helps the balance of the internal environment so that these beautiful cells can be released and help us to heal. Okay, let's move on to the second. That's circulation. So we all know that Tai Chi helps our circulation, correct? We all know that. We feel warm, we feel good, we've got flushed cheeks, a nice glow. But what I wanted to talk about and I wanted to look into is what's in the blood. What elements are there in the blood that help us? So, of course, we have more oxygen, we have the nutrients. But a very recent study, again, just published, it was a small sample size, so the researchers are always a little bit careful, but it's out there, that Tai Tai Chi practitioners of over 1 year, and it was a proper study because they have a randomized control trial of people who've not done Tai Chi and those who've done Tai Chi. Tai Chi practitioners of over a year, which is not really long, over a year, have a substantially increased stem cell called D34 plus. I was like, what? Do people know what stem cells are? I'll talk a little bit about that. And I have an image, I have some images here of stem cells. Stem cells are like baby zero cells. They're fresh. They're just born. And stem cells, they're unspecified. They have the ability to differentiate into whatever kind of cell your body needs. And the most stem cells are in our bone marrow, right? You've probably heard of people having bone marrow transplants. Okay, it's because of the stem cells in there. Our heart, our brain, our gut, nerves, muscles. Those are where most of the differentiated stem cells are. So can you imagine you are increasing your availability of stem cells if you do Tai Chi more than 1 year? That's really big, guys. Really, really big. People pay millions of dollars in the States. This study was conducted at Stanford University, and stem cell transplants are part of the new science now, and it's very, very expensive. And we can do Tai Chi and just let it happen.
I see that stem cells are like a research for cancer.
Yes, 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 yes. It is, and you'll see it here, and I'll touch on that in a minute. The scientists who did this particular research, because stem cells are involved, they are postulating that telomeres, and I'll explain what that is. Telomeres, so we have our cell, and we have the nucleus in the middle of the cell, and then we have our chromosomes. We have our 23 chromosomes. And at the end of the chromosome, we have these little things called telomeres. And as we age, naturally, those telomeres shorten. Okay, it's a sign of, aging. But they're postulating, because we have these fresh stem cells circulating, that likely Tai Chi can help to increase the telomere length of our DNA. So that's also super, super exciting. So imagine, the research that will come out in the next 1 or 2 or 5 years. I mean, more and more, the more I research, there's more coming out now. 20 years ago, there wasn't very much scientific research, but there certainly is now. So there's a nice little picture of the telomeres here. So this is for you as well. Okay, so we talked about fascia. We talked about the blood and the stem cells that we are creating by doing Tai Chi. The last thing I want to talk about is the neuroendocrine response, or the mindfulness aspect of Tai Chi, and how is that activated. And I'll just touch on that, because I think a lot of you are already aware of that. We have our parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, right? The parasympathetic nervous system is what we're activating in Tai Chi, and that's activating the vagus nerve. Please do have a look. I'd specifically copied this image because the vagus nerve is the largest nerve in your body, and you'll see it goes throughout, top to bottom in your body. It's everywhere. And don't forget, the fascia is around that as well, stimulating the vagus nerve as we move. There's something called the HPA axis. Connection between the pineal gland and the kidneys, or the adrenals, the adrenal glands that just sit on top of the kidneys. This axis is what's activated when we have stress. So when we have stress, we have hormones that get released at the top, go through the pineal gland, go to the adrenals, and boom, we have all this cortisol, our stress hormone, gets released. What does Tai Chi have to do with this? Tai Chi activates the vagal nerve, the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve short circuits this. It just goes, it just mitigates it. It just short circuits it. so that yes, there might still be some cortisol coming, but maybe, I don't know, I can't postulate, 50%. It mitigates it significantly, which is why when we do our Tai Chi, we feel calmer, we feel more relaxed, we can respond to better hormones, good feeling hormones. And don't forget, this vagus nerve is close to the diaphragm and the spine as well, right? We have two branches in the front and in the back, and it gets stimulated every time we elongate the spine, we open up, we stretch. So we're getting a fascial stretch, we're getting more circulation, and we're stimulating this vagus nerve. So those three areas are really important to what's happening internally when we have the right structure, right? So we need to be, learn the art, learn how to be aligned. The relaxation will come through the stimulation of the vagus nerve, and also having really good hygiene or loading of your fascia, because your fascia covers it's like a lining, it's the casing, that covers your muscles. And if your muscles are relaxed, the fascia opens up. Okay? If you're not relaxed, that fascia just stays stuck. It's like, okay, you want to be tight there? I'll be tight there. I'm just going to hold you in that position. So that's the part of letting go and stretching, and your fascia does that, right? So stretching there's stretching physically through alignment, but there's also relaxation from a mental, emotional aspect, and that's where the vagus nerve comes in. There's many different angles to relaxation. I think that's about it. There you go. Okay.